Continental Affair by Christine Mangan, published by Bedford Square Publishers. This is a novel that will take you from Granada and the Alhambra right up to Paris, across to Belgrade and off to Istanbul where it culminates. The author has written a couple of books, so she's written Tangerine and Palace of the Drowned, and the sense of place in both those books is extraordinarily well rendered. So for me, this author really gets a sense of place. She also has quite a lyrical and graceful writing style, so those two things combined really hook me into her novels. This is set in the 1960s, and part of the journey is Paris, Belgrade, Istanbul, which I suspect is probably the route of the old Orient Express, and it stopped running in 1962, and Belgrade then was behind the Iron Curtain. So I suspect it's the earlier 1960s rather than the later 1960s, and it is a very evocatively told story. Henri has come from Oran in Algeria. He was a gendarme. He obviously has some police tactical skills which are very useful in the story, and so he's gone a bit under the radar. He's working for family in Spain, and he has a money drop to sort in the Alhambra, so he's there, and Louise zaps in, takes the bag that's containing quite a considerable amount of money, and then decides to head for Paris. Now he follows her to Paris. They have a brief conversation. She doesn't realise quite at that point that he's following, and he keeps his distance, but he obviously needs to keep his eye on her because the money that he needs is in her bag. So she does the sights in Paris, and she gradually becomes aware that Henri is following her. Now he is described in the 1960s as a man wearing a bowler hat in Paris, which I would imagine would get him to stick out like a sore thumb. So quite why the author's done that, who knows? It's a bit absurd. There are other absurdist bits, and you can really tell that, she's been influenced by Patricia Highsmight. There is a bit of Ingmar Bergman. So it's a kind of combination of quite a few kind of filmic genres, I guess, in some ways. So she then does the sights in Paris. She decides to head for Istanbul. He has to research via the bellhop where on earth she's going next and book his own ticket, so he's following her. And we gradually feel that, she's setting the pace. He follows, we follow him, and then there is a fourth person who is also following. So it's a bit like a game of tag as they move across towards Eastern Europe. And so she meets some people in Belgrade, or on the train. She gets off in Belgrade, he gets off too, pops back on the train and heads to Istanbul. Now part of the some of the chapters are the story of where they have chummed up in a carriage and they're starting to talk. So Henri and Louise are chatting to each other and sort of, telling them about their background, why they're actually on the run. So if you want a nicely told story that takes its time, then maybe The Continental Affair by Christine Mangan is one to pop on your shelf.